This is INCRadio DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
And good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you may be. Welcome to another very exciting episode, I dare say, of Sunny Side Up Family Talks. I'm one of your hosts, Brother Robert Tabalas, here in the sunny Tampa, Florida. And I'd like to also now toss it over to one of our hosts who happens to be a little more inland, a little closer to the center of the state there in Orlando. Sister Joy, good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you, Brother Robert. This is for all of you who are tuned in, because we know that we have a global set of viewers, right? So we love you all, and we want to hear from where you are tuning in from. So no matter where the placement of the sun is in your sky, or if it's over the horizon, or if it's already set, we want to know where you are tuning in from. So make sure that you let us know in the YouTube comments. It's just such a delight to have all of you here. So no matter the weather, no matter the placement of the sun, it's always sunny side up. And we're so glad that you're with us today. I'm going to kind of take another drive over back to the coast of Florida. And we're going to get our international greetings from our lovely Sister Liza.
Buenos días, hermanos, hermanas. Bienvenido a INCRadio Florida, Sunny Side Up. I am Sister Liza. And good morning from Tampa, Florida. Thank you so much, Paul, for making us part of your morning routine. Of course, morning is always the best, with breakfast with your family, with hot coffee, and of course, with Sunny Side Up. Let us know in the comments below, Paul, where you are watching from, because we love whenever we see brethren watching from different part of the world. Back to you, Paul, Brother Robert.
Oh, thank you so much, man. All that talk about sunny side up eggs and coffee. I think I'm going to need to take a coffee break here mid-show. But, we are only 30 minutes, so maybe I won't. I'll need to probably run this through to the end.
I came prepared. I came with my mug, right? Sunny side up. We're there.
That's good. So you can have both in one.
Let's do
both
it.
In one. Well, we're really glad that all of you are here joining us today, because today's topic is really kind of a follow-up last week's program. If you guys tuned in, you know that we talked to some teenagers who talked to us about things that they wished us as parents knew to help really foster better communication. And from that conversation, we found that a lot of us had experiences that we're now seeing that kind of were these aha moments. Sister Joy and Sister Liza and I were talking about it, where we said, wait a minute, have you ever overreacted to something small and thought, why did that hit me so hard? Why was that something that really bothered me? Or caught yourself saying, I sound just like my parents. The nightmare has begun, right? Where everything that I said I would never be is exactly what's happening. And today in this episode, we're going to really try to unpack a lot of how our past experiences, dynamics when we were children, a lot of old wounds in some cases, and maybe some family patterns were what really led to us shaping how it is that we behave today in our marriages, in parenting and friendships, and even in the workplace. So between the three of us, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can hopefully try to recognize some of those emotional triggers, maybe help to identify some of those inherited patterns, because there's a lot for me to unpack when I look back at how I've treated my kids versus how I was treated as a child growing up. I was a second generation Filipino that came over. I don't know, is it second or first? My parents came from the Philippines and brought me here, and I was born here. So does that make me? So
then we're first, right?
Are we first generation?
We're first generation. Yes, because I'm in the same boat as you, right?
So those of you in the comments, let us know, because being a first generation Filipino here in the States when I arrived, there weren't a lot of Filipinos. So a lot of everything that I've learned and a lot of my identity, almost, if you will, was shaped from those past experiences. So let's dive right into it and talk a little bit about, how is it we ended up where we are today? How did our past end up showing up in our life today, Sister Joy?
That's such a deep question, right? And it's not until, and I love the fact that we had an episode that brought our children on to speak about that, because it was nothing more than like, wow, there's so much for our children, and for their perspective, and for us as parents, we're listening to this thinking, wow, I mean, like you start thinking about your parenting, and like, so as we're thinking and, reflecting on our own parenting styles, we're thinking, okay, well, where did this pattern of my parenting, how did this come up? Is it something that I grew up with? Is this, how am I facing this? So there's nothing more than reflecting on ourselves, right? As parents, like, how did we do this? And then you have to go deep into it and go, okay, well, how did my family handle conflict? Is this the reason? How is this the reason why? So let's go, I'd like to ask you guys, I mean, as far as parenting styles, I mean, what is it when conflict would come up, right? Growing up, do you see that now, those patterns that as you were growing up, do you see those patterns now in your parenting style?
Well, what's really weird, especially when it comes to a discussion around conflict and how our parents handled conflict very differently. Okay, and Tech, if you could put us in grid mode, that'd be great. So this way we can kind of turn this into sort of a collaborative conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that when I remember growing up in Philadelphia back in the the early part of the 1970s, I just love showing off how old I am. That just so that way everyone can just go ahead and roast me. I'm just
a good decade. No, it's a good decade.
But yeah, 70s was a decade.
Maybe I wasn't there yet, but
But I distinctly remember that my parents' arguments were always kind of internal, meaning that they were behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. They were never anything that was in public display for us to see. So if mom and dad had a disagreement, it was usually, I could tell because there was nobody speaking. It was like just the silent treatment throughout the whole house. So
it was almost the same for my household too. Like it was always in private. I never saw my parents, in a real, they would discuss things. And if they were going to discuss something that should not involve us, we never heard it, growing up as kids. How about for you, Stelisa? Was that similar?
I grew up in the Philippines, and it's not similar, but that's why when I got married, I break that cycle.
Wow.
So Brother Edu and I, before we got married, we have these things that we discuss, like what we want in a relationship, what we want in our marriage. So we talk this ahead of time before we settle down. And then we both agree that whenever there's a disagreement, whenever they're like, a fight, we don't fight in front of our kids. We talk in our closed door, and I know that the parents or the grown-ups always said, like, you have to sleep without disagreement. We tried that, but it didn't work. So
we sleep without disagreements because then we end up sleeping in different rooms.
Yes.
So no one's mad at each other.
Yeah, we usually you want to try to talk things out whenever you both are in a cool head. And if it's in the moment when you're trying to rush to sleep, to reconcile because you want to sleep, like in a settled manner, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. Like you really have to talk, pray at night, like, please give me the calm mind, clear my thoughts, and then the next day let's talk.
I love that. I love how that just proves, again, we talk about communication all the time, how it's so important, and that communication is going to look different, right? Yes. And based on like what we all just discussed, our upbringing was a little different. We're bringing that to the table of parenting, but communication, it's so important. It's so nice that you explained that, because in your marriage, before parenting, right, is the marriage, and we have to establish those, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to work it out, because that that's really, I mean, it's so significant, it's really big, because then it's just not only parenting, our children, but we have to make sure that our relationship with our spouse is healthy enough and clear. And I love how you said that, pray for that clear mind, because we're also going to be praying when it comes to the parenting part of it, right? And that brings about like emotions. And y'all, I know all about emotions because my name is an emotion.
But it's the best emotion.
There you go. I mean, we can turn joy into not so joyful, too.
Well, but to the point that we had earlier about being that the past experiences that we have and how they shaped our lives. Mm-hmm. So obviously in this instance, and again, being first generation here, watching my parents just, I for lack of a better term, suffer in silence, right? And just because they would be upset and they just wouldn't talk, I made it I think a conscious decision that I wanted to have a relationship where conversation was fairly open, and that we would have these conversations to try to work out, because just to Sister Liza's point, always making the attempt to not go to bed angry with each other. Although it happens, right? We, it's sometimes it's unavoidable because you're just both so tired, you don't have time to try to work out whatever it was, right? But at least the effort's there. And I think that for me, the past experience of watching my parents just sit there, and me as a child looking at them, wondering what's wrong with mom and dad? Why aren't they talking to each other? And because that means they're also not talking to me, or my brothers and sisters, that I didn't want that for our family. And I think that was definitely something that helped to kind of shape that for us was, again, we go through our minds of like a checklist of things that I'm not going to do as a parent that I experienced with my parents.
Yeah. Can you imagine that when you see your parents like having a silent treatment, how it affects your children? Because whenever we had those times, I see how Naomi was like a little bit affected, because of course she's not seeing us like talking or the sweetness inside the house. So what more if you see your parents like having a disagreement in front of the kids? What more if they hear those, what are you fighting about? So it's like the emotions of your children are already there whenever you see the parents having a silent treatment. What more, how intense it is to your child if they see your parents, if they see their parents like having those
talking to each other
arguments.
Well, and you know why that is? It's because naturally as human beings, what happens is if in the absence of there being a discussion, in the absence of knowing what's really going on, our minds naturally gravitate to the worst possible thing, right? So your parents aren't talking, and it was a little fight about something silly, right? Somebody didn't put away the dishes, or somebody didn't do whatever. So it's a little fight. The parents know what the fight's about, and they're just not talking. But to the child, they're looking at this and they're going, my parents are going to get a divorce.
Yes.
Immediately they go to the worst possible thing. And that's why them not seeing that, and that's why conversation is so important, because that way they know, Anak, it's okay. We're just talking because your dad doesn't do the dishes. He needs to learn to do the dishes, and maybe we wouldn't be fighting. Or I'll say, it's okay. Your mommy spends too much money. And maybe if she didn't spend so much money, then we wouldn't be fighting. It could be any number of those things. I'm not saying that that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what? That's so true, because naturally as humans, right? Yes. I mean, our nervous system is going to react. It will automatically react to try to survive. So when they see, and kids, we sometimes don't give them credit.
They're so smart. Oh my goodness, they're so smart.
They are they know. And we're thinking, okay, they're still little, they're still young. No, they know, they sense it. They have that sense. And they're so in tune to it, especially with mom and dad. And we, sometimes we completely just disregard it. or not even think about it because we're like, oh, it doesn't matter to them. But it does. They feel that. They see that. And I love how you mentioned communication, establishing that on. And if we haven't done that as a couple, I think it's so important that we do talk it out. It's gonna be a rough conversation, but it has to happen, so that we can parent better. And I love how you said that, Liza, because it's true. Those dishes still have to get done.
And and I may not do them properly, but they get done at least. Okay. So the other thing too is that I've always caught myself, and as I've gotten older, I've realized that when I react to things, you normally, like, if something really upsets me, if I get triggered, right? That's a very commonly used phrase nowadays. If I get triggered by something, I usually find out later on that it's not what happened in that moment that's actually triggered me. It's actually a memory from something that's triggered me. Right? And so the way I react to something isn't necessarily because of what happened there. So when the children do something, or if somebody talks back, if the kids are talking back to us, maybe it's not that they're talking back to us. All they're doing is simply asking why. Right? Or because kids today naturally are a lot more curious. Why are they curious? Because they have so much more information at their fingertips. A 10-year-old today, as far as I'm concerned, is so much more well-informed than the 10-year-old when I was 10 years old. 10-year-old me doesn't know a quarter of the things that 10-year-olds today know.
No internet, no Google.
There's no Google, there's no AI or Chat GPT or anything.
Yeah, no YouTube. Yes.
Right? So for me, a lot of my reactions to things were simply triggered because of a memory from an experience that I had maybe a long, long time ago. And it took a lot to get over that, because you have to be able to communicate that, because when you're interacting with another person, like your spouse or even your children, and you react a certain way, they might think like, oh, dad's just in a bad mood, or dad's just really like not happy today. And it's because what they see is me reacting to something that happened in the moment. They don't have the 50 years of history.
Yes, exactly. It's so much with parenting, right? I mean, it's one thing when we get married, you're like, oh, I'm so in love, we're going to do this. So for all of you who are trying to get married, we're not trying to scare you, but there is a lot. There's a lot.
Please still do get married.
Yeah, do get married, please. But just like Sister Liza said, establish those communications. I mean, and then you add children, you're like, oh man, I have to unpack all of this. And yes, I mean, just in those moments when you react a certain way, you're like, it's like everything slows down and you're just reflecting on life. Like, why did I react that way? What did I learn? Where did I get this from? How do I do this better? All these things happening at the same time. But it's for growth. It's for progress. It's what it helps us, get better. And it's still worth it to go through that process. It really is. It seems tough. No, it doesn't seem tough. It is tough. It's hard, right? But it's so worth it. It's worth it. And then you'll feel the progress. You'll feel the growth even in your family. And then, right, the communication is better. And you're like, okay.
So are you noticing that, Sister Liza, with you? Like with we talked about it before the show started, that we've always kind of got this checklist in our minds of, my parents would never let me do this, so I'm going to make sure my kids are more independent. I'm going to make sure my kids can make their own choices. I'm going to make sure that I can do this, this, and this, right? As a young parent, that's something very, common. Like, I have 2 very young grandchildren, so I have essentially young parents who probably are going through, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, hey, I wasn't that bad of a parent. What do you mean you don't want to do that? But do you experience that, Sister Liza, like things that you said in your mind, I would never do that, but now as a parent to Naomi and Noah, you're realizing I kind of understand why my parents did that now, about danger and keeping them safe. And
remember from the last episode, like we're talking about with the teens. So I remember I mentioned that you will never understand your parents until you become one, until you become a parent.
Yes.
So raising my kids right now, but there are things that I want to break because I experience them, which is, for me, I'm not saying it's a bad, but it turns me, I just look at it like in a positive way, like it should turns me to become a better mom, a
Mhm.
better parent to my kids. So there are things, Paul, there are times that whenever I feel like I needed to be strict, I know that I said to myself, I'm not gonna do this because this is too strict for my child. But there are times that I really needed to be.
Mhm.
Right.
And
And
I really need to, like, okay, I need to tell my daughter why I'm saying this to you, why you
Mhm.
have to do this. It's not that just do it because I said so. I'm your parent. You should listen to me.
Mhm.
I think our children sometimes needs to know why behind these things they need to follow. It's not
Mhm.
because I am a parent you need to listen to me or follow me.
right.
Mhm.
You have,
Which
I know
is
that they have to obey, of course.
Mhm.
But for them to fully understand, we have to explain why certain things needed to be done.
Mhm.
Because when I was growing up, you know how parents are like firm fisted, like
Yes.
do this, do that.
my
Something's
dad. My dad was a Filipino in the U.S. military.
Oh,
You don't
yes.
get you don't get much stricter than that.
Nope. Yep.
Mhm.
That's my dad.
You know?
Yes.
That's right.
So
Like speaking about that too, like it really takes, we have to make the time because it takes time, right? And so pausing and just remembering like that, like what you said, Sister Lisa, right? We have to kind of first, we have to acknowledge what is it that I'm feeling as parents, right? What is it that I'm feeling or whatever it is that has activated that emotion, that reaction, right? So we have to think, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Now, this takes time. And, is this about the current situation? Is this about what's happening now? Or is this something, that's just activated,
Internal. Yes,
right?
an
Yeah, like
internal.
that internal.
triggered,
And
right?
then thinking like, okay, is this response, is my response, is it aligning up to who I want to be as a parent and even as a spouse, right? So just kind of remembering those three, pausing. Oh, that's tough, right? Because in the moment, we're activated and we're feeling. And if anyone knows about emotions, y'all, I know I'm an
Mhm.
emotional person. My name is an emotion, but taking that time, and I'm with you, I'm holding your hand, I'm crying with you, I'm laughing with you at the same time, but right, taking just those three simple steps, right? And I'm doing this too, y'all, right? We gotta think, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Is it about now or is this about just something that has activated me about my past, right? And is this response something that's aligning up with who I want to be as a spouse, as a wife, as a husband, as a mom, as a dad, right? Those are things, and we just got to make the time to pause, and hopefully, I think this process will help us,
Yeah,
right?
I think, and that's exactly, I think, the point. Um, in Sister Liza's example about how, in dealing with her children and in her desire to not want to be as strict as her parents were,
Yeah.
but I think that's because when our parents were disciplining us, they did it without explaining the why. We just knew that we were being disciplined.
Mhm.
We didn't think that there was any rationale behind it and thought that it was just because our parents just wanted to discipline us, right? Um, then we said, we're never going to be like that. But then you realize as you grow up, oh, well, I'm disciplining them because I want them to learn. I want them to be
Mhm.
safe. I want them to grow up to be able to handle issues and problems. And the only way they can do that is by learning from their mistakes.
Mhm.
Allow them to make the mistakes, allow them to learn from them. But you also have to know when it is that you have to kind of reel them back in. The difference is that you talk to them about why,
Yeah.
which is something we didn't get the benefit of. And if
Yeah.
you're talking to them about the why, that helps them to better understand, cooperate, and kind of go along with it, right?
Mhm.
Versus,
Mhm.
because then they feel like you look at them as being mature enough that you share that with them.
Mhm.
Their willingness to now want to cooperate is probably going to be greater
Mhm.
because they feel that you respect them. You're still the parent, You're always going to be the parent,
Mhm.
but at least you're showing them the respect. And if you're showing them the respect, and by taking the time to explain to them, they'll reciprocate and give you back that respect as well. Even though, as we've said, as parents, that respect is the badge that we earned when we gave birth to them. Well, I didn't give birth to them, but when my wife gave birth to them, I was just there. I was just along for the ride. You know, I'm the passenger along for the ride. But you know, that respect is there. But as parents, we also have to respect our children enough and trust them enough that they can understand.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And whenever we, of course, growing up in the Philippines, when your parents ask you, for example, there's an instances, they ask you, what happened? What did you do? And then you answered. And when you answer, when you respond, it's like you're talking back. Oh yeah, sumasagot ka, ganyan,
But you
something like
asked
that.
me. You asked
Right.
me.
Yes. So in our parenting style, so like what I mentioned before, but I'm gonna ask first. I know in my head I'm gonna be mad, but at least I have to ask my daughter what happened. It's not like what's the problem. So we reverse. Like I don't want my daughter to feel like she's a problem. So what I'm gonna ask is what happened? What's the matter?
Instead
it's
of
not-
the what did you do?
Yes.
Right?
Like what did you do? Like something is
That's
always the
the,
blame is on her.
But you see,
Yeah,
not
what-
everything that we experience, it has to be negative.
Yes.
Right? You're
Actually,
turning, like, for example, you're taking all these experiences and we can make it, into something positive and use it to fuel us, to empower us to be
yes.
better.
Actually, I grew up. My father is really strict. My mom is on a calmer. They're balanced.
They're a
My
good
mom,
pair.
they're
Opposite.
really like
That's
balanced.
how
Yes.
opposites work, right?
Yes. So I grew up in a strict environment, in a strict family. But you know what? I am very thankful because my father raised me like this, and it gives me so much like confidence, resilience. Like my siblings said, I am like their second mom. So sometimes I hear myself whenever I give them advice like you're I you're like Papa. You sound
Yeah.
like Papa, right? But I am really like thankful that I am being raised this way. But like I said, po, I want to break some cycles. I wanna end it there. I want my children to live in a healthy communication pace, like wherein they can share what they wanna say without any hesitation, without I don't want to say it because my mom will say I'm talking back. I don't want to say this because she might feel offended or something. Like we can do it in a manner wherein there's still love, there is still there's still peace.
Which reminds me, you mentioned something, and I don't think we mentioned it here on the
Oh, yeah.
show, but we talked about it, and you said, like, because for my upbringing too, when you don't hear "I love you" or "I'm proud of you." That was something because everything was kind of kept private. But you mentioned this, right, pre-show. But now with our children being so open, right, and so information is always ready, available for them. We want them to know before the world tells them, right, that we love them. So speaking it, communicating that, and just going back to like what you said, Brother Robert, the why, we have to remind our children and say it. Let's say it to them. I love you. I love you. You're important to me. I want to keep you safe. You're going to make mistakes, but actually saying it is making
Different.
Yes.
I know, of course, we can feel the love from our parents, right? We know that our parents love us so much, so dearly. That's why they raise us this way. They raise us inside the church, inside the Christian discipline, right? But hearing from them that your parents saying to you, I love you, it's big. It's deep. Like saying, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the person you become.
Well, it's a reinforcement because there's so many opportunities in this world for people to put our children down, right? make them
Yes.
feel bad about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's social media, whether it's bullies, whether it's people that they encounter at school. And hearing that, even though you guys said that, we know, or at least most of us probably knew that our parents loved us,
Mm-hmm.
but the difference between hearing it and just feeling it is that it's a reaffirmation for us, right?
Yes.
Because there's this whole stigma, right? And that's, I think, to your point, Sister Liza, about breaking the cycle. It also means breaking the stigma. There's a stigma around being able to say words like "I love you" to your parents, because maybe it was looked upon as being, "Oh, you're soft," or you're being able to express your love, like, getting to the point where you can hang up a phone call with your child and them saying "I love you" before you have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Then me is the pinnacle of okay, I did an okay job, because
Yes.
they said it before I had to say it.
You
And
say
they
it.
say, "Okay, Dad, love you, bye," and then just to hear those words, you can never say it too often.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care what anybody says. You
Yeah.
can never say "I love you" to a loved one too
Mhm.
often. And I think that, trying to get our children to become more vocal and verbal, because we're trusting them enough to understand the reasoning behind why we do the things we do, I think is one way to really make them feel more comfortable to be able to do that
Yeah.
and communicate. That's what this whole show is about.
Mhm.
This whole program is about finding ways to open up more
Mhm.
communication between our families.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like Sister Joy mentioned earlier, like, I am proud of you, like, giving the affirmation, like, you really did a good job. Because the word today po, it's a lot of negative, there's a negativity outside.
Mhm.
And sometimes our children will doubt themselves, like,
Mhm.
am I good enough? Because
Mhm.
the people around me, for example, is at school,
Mhm.
especially we have teenagers, right? But some teenagers like experiences like bullying.
Mhm.
They receive like negative comments about their physical appearance, how they stand up or something like that. So if they hear it from their parents, how proud we
Mhm.
are to our children, it gives them the assurance that whenever they hear something like negative,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like, this is what I always tell Naomi. People has always something to say about you.
Mhm.
Good, bad. You have to accept it. But you have to learn what to accept, what
Mhm.
to put in your heart, into your mind. Okay,
Mhm.
what if they tell you you are not good enough? What are you going to say? And then
Mhm.
Naomi is saying, that's okay. I am good enough for my parents.
Mhm.
And when me and brother Edu heard that, it's big.
Oh, yeah. That's big.
Oh
That's
yeah.
Uh-huh.
That shows you how much self-confidence that she has, and
Yeah.
and that confidence in knowing that she's able to, even at that age, not be concerned about other people's opinions. Because I tell people that all the time. The
Mhm.
opinions that you should be most concerned about are the opinions from people that you actually care about.
Yes.
And you
Mhm.
don't care about everybody. You
Yeah.
should. You only care about the opinions of the people that are important to you.
Yes.
Most important, of course, being God.
Mhm.
And what would his opinion of me be in the
Exactly.
behavior that I'm expressing, or the way that I'm carrying myself? Is this something that God would be proud of? Then
Mhm.
parents. And
Mhm.
it's I think it's one of those moments, again, as a parent, that's when you said in your head, "Oh, okay, I did an okay job with Naomi. I did
Yeah.
I did an okay
Yeah.
job,"
Yeah.
because she was able to demonstrate that self-confidence. And the thing I used to tell Sister Lulu all the time, because you were saying earlier, Sister Liza, about you want to ask her this question like, "Okay, what happened?" Even though you already know in the back of your head, she's gonna say something that might make
Yes.
you upset, right? You know it.
Uh-huh.
You know it. And
Yes.
so I used to tell Sister Lou, and I've learned to not say this as often anymore. I said, you need to stop asking questions when you know you're not going to like the answer. It'll make you a lot less upset.
Talking. No, I'm just
But
kidding.
then you stop talking. So I've stopped saying that. But that used to be my favorite saying to her was, look, you might not want to ask the question if you know you're not going to like the answer, but you've got to ask the questions, because that's the only
Yes.
way.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the whole
That's what I
thing.
actually tell brother Robert, brother Edu, like, you have to ask. Why? Because it's not like you want to just, be upset, throw your frustration to your child. What happened? You have to ask what happened,
Yeah, we do.
right? Remember for the one that I
It's
told you that,
hard, but yes,
yeah,
we
it's
do.
really like, is like you said, there's no manual. Um, this is what I told my friends, but parenting is a trial and error. You cannot get it straight A's on your firstborn,
Mhm.
but the experiences of your parents, you can take that. I know that they say that people learn from their own mistakes, right? But because I did that, I learned from my mistakes.
Mhm.
But if I could learn from other people's mistakes, so I don't
Yes.
have to do that, I'll
Mhm.
take it.
All the better, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's why I said, but I need to pick the good. I need to throw the
Mhm.
bad, and I'll
Mhm.
get inspiration from other things, from other people that I'm seeing. Of course, with the Christian values, how they raise their kids. That's how I'm gonna pick up. I collect those stones, and
Right.
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
gonna throw the bad.
And you look and look at the people that are around you and around your family, and you model those that you see that
Mhm.
you love. That's the family that I want to be able to model after. And
Mhm.
but at the same time, those are the mistakes that I don't want to have to make.
Mhm.
Better to learn from theirs than yours, like you said,
Mhm.
right? That's that's
Opo.
that's really I think a great saying, because why go through the pain
Yeah.
when somebody
Yes.
else has already done it, and
And I
really.
just have to say this, Brother Robert, your family is one of those ones that I'm like, okay, what, right? Sister Liza agrees
Yes.
with me too. I'm
Yes.
like,
It's
okay,
God's, that's all God's work. That's the
That that's
you
hundreds.
learn.
that's what Ka Edis also said. Like
Mhm.
that's like a model family to me.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
why
That is,
Brother Edu has so much. He takes pride so much of Brother Robert,
oh
and I take so much pride too with Sister Lulu.
It's
no,
So whenever I
I
ask
take
like a parenting, I ask Mama Lulu.
I take a tremendous amount of pride in being to be surrounded by the two of you and other people. Like you guys that are these modern parents, because as we know, I'm the old man of the group, and and being able
we'll
to
call you
watch
wise old man.
the wise old man, exactly, and being able to watch modern parents raise their children in with all of this new innovation, but still just hold on to those values, those Christian values. You don't allow the modern world to kind of interfere with how you're going to raise your
Mhm.
children, right? You take the good, like what Sister Liza said, you take the good and you use it, and all of the stuff that's the rest of it is just noise. It's just noise. It's
Yes.
things that we don't need to really bother ourselves with. And speaking of noise, one of the biggest noise is the fact that we are the fastest 30 minutes on radio, because I look down and already we are so past
Look at
where
that.
we should be. But we just lose time when we have these conversations, because these are all so important.
It does.
And
And I feel like we
and
just started.
Maybe our viewers can also comment in our chat if they want, something like a part 2 of this one. We would love to
yes,
hear from them,
absolutely.
of course.
And
Yes.
what you'd like to talk about, right? Because
Yes.
the show is, honestly, it's for you guys. We
Mhm.
want to be able to bring topics that are going to be meaningful and impactful, and hopefully help to promote a
Mhm.
stronger, healthier, more communicative relationship with your families. But of course, before we go though, we've got to thank those that helped to put this together, and that begins with our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, to Brother Angelo Arano Manalo, our Deputy Executive Minister, Brother Wally Tarai, our Station Manager, and of course to Brother Manly Andaya, our wonderful Executive Producer. And here in the District of Florida, of course, we extend our greetings to Brother Gary Garcia, our District Minister, to also Brother Solomon Joves, our Assistant District Minister here, and then Brother Alfie Villanueva, who's our CFO advisor. We thank you all so much for joining us today here on Sunny Side Up. I want to thank my lovely, wonderful, and extremely experienced parents here with me today, Sister Joy and Sister Liza. We really enjoyed this conversation with all of you, but please continue to stay tuned. Share this video with others. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, because we'd love to have you be able to experience this content ongoing. But for now, this is Brother Robert here in Tampa, Florida, for Sister Liza, who's also a neighbor here in Tampa, and Sister Joy in Orlando. We want to wish you all a very, very happy and blessed day.
Able to perform her duties entrusted to us.
It's always a
Very
win.
good
Yeah, it's
job.
always a win.
Yeah.
So let's get to our topic. Have you ever had a moment where life just didn't